call the meeting to order then.
Yeah.
All right.
So, start with the minutes of January 14th.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Farana made a motion to accept the wording of the, I guess, the wording of the article, of the warrant article. But of course, the wording is quite long, and she didn't, how did we do that? Because I was going to, I would have to put the wording into the whole wording, and I did do that into the minutes, but is that how did we, Toronto, do you remember what happened? Oh, you're muted.
Blow me nose. I think we were just asking, like, if the warrant article looked good, like if everyone kind of approved that it was good to submit.
Correct.
Okay,
That's what I
so,
recall.
And I said yes, and then everyone else said yes.
Yeah.
yes, but we must have, there must have been we must have had the wording to look at.
Yeah, because I had sent out the wording in an email earlier, so everyone had access to
Yeah,
it.
you had sent out the
Oh.
draft.
Oh,
But
all
then
right.
But now it's
Yeah,
attached to the
okay.
minutes, so that's fine.
All right, I'll word that slightly differently, that we approved of the draft. And so I don't need to actually put the whole thing in.
Correct. I think that makes sense, Nancy.
Okay. We'll do that. So do we approve of it, the minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as amended.
I seconded. Seconded.
Good.
Okay, I get a motion from Bill and a second from Ryan. So let's go down the, okay, so I'm gonna go again I'm following the way it shows up on my screen. So
David, I have a question, a point of order. Do we have
Yes.
to actually poll, or can you say any objections, and hearing none, it's approved?
yeah, for something like the minutes, it's
Yeah.
my understanding is because it's a Zoom meeting, we have to do a roll call and everything. I'm doing it a little bit less formally than the select board does, because they go by last name and everything, but
Mhm.
Matt, we can't hear you. I can see your mouth moving, but we cannot hear your
Yeah.
words. It says you're unmuted, so maybe you're like computer muted. Nope.
No?
Oh,
yeah,
no.
okay.
Yeah, oh, try it
It's not
again.
covered yet, I think. Yeah, I think this is worth waiting for.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. we can hear
Okay.
you now.
So, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to even take 10 seconds, but I was going to say this committee being so small, you can see everyone on one Zoom screen. And so while technically you're supposed to take a roll call vote, I think if everyone just raised their hands, you would get a clear visual indication of everyone's vote. Now, I know that's probably not in line with state law, but this committee is unusual in you could see everybody. That's why when you called the meeting to order, you're supposed to do a roll call to ensure everyone's there. You can see everyone's there. Everyone's there.
And it's being recorded, right, Matt? So all this is
It
already.
is. So all the evidence against us will be taken and used against us.
Right, and we are, and this is the minutes. So I think that it's a relatively, like the call to order, it's a relatively pro forma thing. All right, so in that case, let's have a show of hands. This time, all in favor, raise your hands. Okay, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. I can see that. All right. All right. All right. Hands down. All opposed. I'm not going to see any because everyone raised their hands for the ayes, so the ayes have it. All right. Next item on the agenda. And I have to, okay, status of the home rule petition. So I have heard that it got reported positively, favorably from committee, although oddly, I think I've heard that news twice, and I guess the first time may have been a false alarm, but I've heard it again in writing, so.
So,
From whom did you hear it?
I'm trying to, I'm trying to remember. I got some, there was some email that came around.
even so, even if it was, what does that
Yeah.
mean? It
It
still
has to
hasn't
be
been-
voted on.
Yeah. It still has, yeah, yeah, right. It has to actually get put before the full legislature, which happens when, I don't know.
Oh, we could look it up, but I mean, I could look it up, but I won't right now, but
Well,
I-
I mean, I think what's likely to happen with a bill like this is it, you know, at some point they'll decide to schedule it and it'll go a few days from
well,
then.
let's see, I guess they will need to have a hearing, right? No,
Oh, they've had the hearing. They've had a hearing.
yeah,
They've had a-
okay.
And that's probably the hearing for it, I expect.
So quick question. I know this is probably, this has been mentioned in a previous meeting and I can't remember the person's name. Is there a, like, would it just be our specific representative that we reach out to? Or is there someone on the committee that we could reach out to just to be like, hi, what, like, just to have a relationship with someone to figure out what's going on with this thing? Or is that too hopeful?
I could be wrong, but I think it's being sponsored by Tammy Dovea. I think she's the main sponsor of the bill. So I think the call to her would be appropriate to find out, you know, whether she could press to have it brought up for a vote at some point. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And I would just jump in and say she is already pledged to, you know, track these bills. So
Yeah.
I
either
mean, not
through
to like
herself
pester
or
her
one
and
of
be
her
like, hey, what's
staff.
going on, what's happening, but just like, hi, we're on the committee, we're trying to understand the process. Like, I can go, like, if it's helpful, like, I could email her
Yeah.
because I'm new and I honestly just don't know.
Or,
Like,
or-
ask, but
and even I would even ask her more specifically, when do you think this might come up for a vote?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, sure.
that'd be appropriate to ask. So Farhan, do you want to do that?
yeah, sure, I'll take that as an action to just figure out who Tammy is and see if I can learn anything more about the state of the, I forget the official
You
word,
can
the
email her or call. I've noticed a couple times when I've called,
amendment.
she actually picked up the phone herself.
Oh,
So you can actually, you know, if you're lucky, she'll pick up the phone. And,
Mhm.
And actually, from my understanding, it is actually, I guess, okay to call up a representative who is not your own because they happen to be the
on the committee.
chair of the committee that this thing is in, or they happen to have, you know, power over when things go to the go to the full legislature. And you know, so I guess another question would be, would it be okay to contact such a person, and who would I contact if that were, you know, who is?
Well, we could just one could contact the committee and and ask, and you probably get then a staff person, and you could talk to the staff person. I don't know whether you would.
Oh yeah, no, you'd probably be, yeah. Yeah.
It looks like she's also running for lieutenant governor.
yeah, she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know why.
You can do that.
Doesn't
My guess, I don't want to be cynical. My guess is you're not constituent. They're not going to care. They're going to listen to you and not do anything. I mean, that's my sense. But
Yeah,
you're free.
Also, didn't the bill already report favorably out of committee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're done with the committee. I think the committee has,
Yeah.
I think the committee has done its job for us. It's the who is in charge of the head person at the legislature. I'm trying to remember who it is now.
You mean
I think your
the,
best bet is to get the advocate, the sponsor for the bill, and ask,
Yeah.
and she's the sponsor as far as I remember.
yes,
And ask her to what's going to happen next? When will this get in front of the legislature for a vote?
And is there
And,
anything we can do to help?
Yeah,
yeah, it's up to, well, it's still up to them, whether, up to the legislature, whether, when they bring it up at the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
And who knows, but anyway, it's worth a call.
yeah. All right, what's next, David?
See. So the report on the warrant articles that we submitted. So yes, we submitted the, so I did submit the article, as, exactly as I believe exactly as presented to the committee. And after I did that, I got, shortly before the, warrant had, after the submission deadline, just before they went to press, Carmen came back to me and said, "Your narrative is much too long. Can we reduce it a lot?" And she provided an example of how she thought it might be reduced, and I said, "Fine." She took a lot of she took out a lot of the statistics and some details of the history, but she actually made it a much more concise summary.
We have the statistics that were in there before. Do we still have those? Like, those are still available, right? Like, I'm just thinking, like, in case we wanted to reference those, we still have the draft, the original draft.
Yeah, yes, of course, and I'm assuming if I mean, this is again not going to go on the consent calendar probably. We probably have a chance for a presentation, which I think we should make very short, because I think we've made our case pretty well, and most people and most people at the meeting will already know it, but we're just trying to catch the people who are new. But the key statistics, like the number of people we've had on benefiting from this and so forth, and the approximate size of the benefit. Yeah,
We propose to have a handout, because that's where those statistics could go.
that actually would be a very good idea.
Yeah, good point.
We could do that.
It could be a good idea to have a handout.
We could do that.
Have to be more than one
Good.
page.
Have to make that 10,000 copies.
Is that something that we could put on like our page of the town website? Like whatever's going on that handout? Like if you go to our committee page, here's what we're doing, like context. I don't actually know if we have control over what we put on our town web page.
Well, generally it is just the minutes and the agendas.
But Nancy, other committees have documents that you can refer to.
Yeah,
I
sure.
can't see why you can't have a simple one-page statistical document where it describes the town's, the Tax Fairness Committee with a link to that document. I think it's a pretty good idea.
Mhm.
Save a lot of paper too at the moment, so it's good. So David, you look in to find out whether we can do that, how we do it?
Yeah. I'm talking about that page on the website. Yeah. be my job here. All right. Oh, and I did check with Carrie LaFleur and she confirmed that that they did submit the companion article just in case the legislature doesn't act.
Yes.
Yeah, so there are two articles, Article 11 and 12. We submitted 11, she submits 12. Is that how it works? I believe. I don't know the numbers, but it's something like that. And then I think next step for us isn't, I went to the chairs meeting for David on Wednesday, the chairs coffee. And I think next step is for the presentation in front of the Finance Committee, a hearing then on March 3rd. I think that's the next thing for us. Do you have that,
Yeah,
David?
that's
coming
right.
up.
That's what we need. That's what we need, the statistics on the slides.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Didn't we have a page, a slide like this about a year ago that, Ryan, I thought you did it or someone with you did it? It may just have to be updated. Do you remember preparing something like that?
I think we can just do that.
Let me just poke around for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take. I may have a copy of it also.
Sorry, folks.
I'm peering at my desktop here to see if I can find it. But apparently, no.
No.
Got a new computer and it's in the desktop on some other computer. Nah.
Well, it's possible. You know, we traded this. We circulated these slides.
Yeah.
At some point in one of these meetings. So I
Go back through the minutes or something.
one of us should be able to recover them
I think
somewhere.
so.
Yeah, I'll
We
look
don't
too.
start from scratch.
Yeah.
There. All of my documents got stuck in some place called the cloud.
Oh, dear.
That they are gone and lost forever.
Oh, no.
No, they're not gone. I mean, you know, the computer types say, oh, yes, we'll just pull that down from the cloud. And I say, yeah, okay. When I reach up for a cloud, I only get this misty stuff, you know.
Anna's got them.
Excuse
She's
me.
got them
Yeah.
right there.
Who does?
Anna, she owns the cloud.
Oh.
I don't
Oh,
give me that much power. I don't own the cloud. I just work with it.
Now,
Ryan, I just want to show you this, if you and tell me is that your brochure?
that's the one.
Oh, okay.
You got it. Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
got to see that. And actually, the
No,
new
can someone mail that to me? Or I'll meet you for coffee.
Right. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? And I can also show you what the town council said, the reason that we couldn't, that our local income tax couldn't be passed.
But I think it might be fun for Hannah to see the inside of that.
Well, of course, that's where everything is, where all the description of it is, and along with pictures.
Because of people who are supporters, real ones and theoretical ones, but
Yeah.
we had
Right.
real quotes from Corey Atkins
Yeah.
and the Mass Committee for something or other, revenue people and you know, but that was an attempt to actually create a statewide organization for tax fairness.
Uh-huh. Yep. Well, very good. All right, I would, so Farana, would, shall we get together? What's a good,
When, I don't know. Are you free on Monday? I don't have work on Monday.
Why don't you two
Oh,
talk to
okay.
each other offline and.
Yeah.
work that out?
Yeah.
sure,
Sounds
all right,
good.
we will.
I found Ryan's document, the PDF or the PowerPoint that we used last year.
Oh,
I
okay.
can circulate it. I'll email it to everyone. It's 2 pages and it is not, it doesn't have any statistics in it, but the first is, it's very good. It's very precise, talks about the objectives of the article and why we were putting this forward. So,
Now,
So-
if you can bring that up on another desktop that's hiding behind, and then you push your share screen button,
all right, let's see if we can do this then.
you can show us the file. But when I do that, I usually get lost somewhere, but
All right, let me try. Share screen. Okay, here we go.
yeah, there you go.
Hey,
Uh-huh.
Bravo.
So there's the first page. All right,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then there's the second page.
and that didn't have statistics.
No,
That was a different topic.
Very to the point.
but it is to the point.
Yeah. I feel like it's just adding a third page with statistics.
Statistics, that would be simple enough, yeah. So,
Do you want to split slide 2 into a slide for status and a slide for plan of action? It's a lot. There's a lot on this slide.
yeah, let me look at that again.
It's true.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you're right.
A fairly technical topic, so.
Yep.
Yeah. No one's gonna probably
Yeah,
read
actually-
every
actually-
single bullet point on there.
And the
Okay,
last,
who's good at-
And by the way, now that I'm, okay, so this is just for the public hearing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be on the consent calendar.
Yeah, that's,
For town meeting.
really,
I pretty much guarantee it.
So-
I'm not the moderator, but I would put big money on this.
Having once chaired the FinCom hearing, simple to the point is the way to go. Otherwise, those meetings can grind on in a way that is really not productive at all. So I would advocate a simple, direct. And I think a few statistics are fine. This is the number of people who were involved. This was the amount of money that was spent, period, done.
yeah, that's it, pretty much. It's an amount of money, it's a number of, yeah, that's 2 lines. The one thing that the last line of the slide was when we wrote this slide last year, that's what we thought would happen, but the contingency plan is the finance article.
so David,
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
So that's,
David, you probably have a copy of this. I can forward it
I'm
to you.
pretty sure I do. I am pretty sure I do have a copy of it, but yeah, I think that now that we've all seen this, I think you can also forward it to all the members of the committee. So that
I
we
will.
all have
I
it.
will.
Um,
And then I'm assuming you or someone will add a page or following Matt's suggestion, maybe tweak it a little bit, separate status and plan of action.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, who's going to make the presentation? I mean, I guess normally it would be me, so that would be fine. If that's,
that's fine.
although Ryan's done it in the past and done a good job of it too, so we can do it either way. But yeah, I can go ahead and do that. And yeah, so I'll put in the, but I will have to tweak the slide because as I said, I'm gonna have to take the last line off of this. I don't think I actually need to talk about the contingency plan because I'm pretty sure it'll be on the agenda separately.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this right now. Here we go.
Yeah, good. Okay.
I would say just the slide that you add this just statistics to, right? Because statistics can be displayed any number, right? All sorts of different ways. Just doing it in a way that's emphasizing like the positive impact that this has had on folks. Like, oh, we've had more, unfortunately, there are more people that need it, but it exists and they've been able to live, like, something,
Yep.
something about
Yeah,
that, just
well,
not just
number-
numbers, but the story.
Good.
Yeah, I think the number 37 is on there, and because that's how many households benefited. And there's a total number, which I don't have off the top of my head.
I think it was in the original draft, I believe.
Yeah, well, there's the, yes, that number. And I think those two numbers are yeah, I think maybe, I guess if it's up from last year, I will want to mention that. I think it might be.
Well,
Yeah, it was. I
37,
think-
37 this year and 34 last year.
It
Yeah,
was up by 3.
it's up, yeah, up by 3. So it's, but yeah, that's significant too. Okay. All right, so presentation FinCom. Okay, so I'm on for the FinCom hearing. I'll need to modify the slides.
Can that meeting invite be shared with the committee? Because I think I could go look for, like, I'd be interested to attend just to see what it was like. Or do I just go on the town webpage and like look it up?
This is a public hearing. I mean, I think there's any or all of us can certainly attend as members of the public. I don't think we need to.
And so just look it up on the town's calendar.
Yeah,
Add it to my calendar.
it's March 3rd. I know that. I don't know anything else. I don't remember where, etc.
Is it live or Zoom?
Oh, I assume it's Zoom. Yeah, that's right.
March 3rd right here. Or wait, no, that's different.
Oh, that's a Thursday. Good. All right.
You can go to Finance Committee, the Finance Committee
Um,
website and get a link to it, probably.
Thank you. We need to figure out how to navigate our own webpage.
You go first to the town website and then look up Finance Committee, and then I think there will be there are schedules there of hearings.
I think just to go back a bit, I think with the edits we talked about, I'll probably have 4 slides, but with approximately the same material as we have on the slides right now.
Sure.
Taking off a line for the alternative and adding a couple lines for the stats. So it'll be a quick presentation.
What's next? What are we doing now?
All right, let's see.
For new members.
Yeah, so new members.
I think if we are able to upload some stuff and context to our page, that could potentially help, because it'd be easier to share context about what the committee is and what they do through various online means.
You're right.
But that leads me kind of to the question. So next, number 5 is discuss future of the committee. A question that I have is, I know there are like the local option income tax, and there are potential, I'm going to call them it's Friday, work head's still on. They're like potential solutions to things, but like, what's the actual challenge or the problem that this committee is trying to solve? Is it just equitable taxes across the town? Is it specifically for this more senior community and folks that are retiring? Is it what's the problem we're trying to solve?
Go to our website, on the town, excuse me, go to the town website and look up Tax Fairness Committee, and then it will give us, it does give the purpose of the committee, the very first thing. Unfortunately, I don't remember it right offhand, but
Well, I
if
think,
you want
I
to,
think, Farana, when we were low lit, before we were what we are now,
yeah,
the premise, the concern was that we operate in an 18th century tax base, that your wealth is your land, and that is manifestly unjust. So the thought was to try and shift that burden onto income, at least partially on income. That would lower the tax on land and would lighten the load on everybody. In fact, and that original plan, it would lighten it by 50%, remarkably. But it would make the town a more affordable town in terms of housing. That was the original intent. It was an attack on the 18th century tax tradition. And actually, that was the presentation we made to town meeting. Was exactly that, and town meeting was very enthusiastic about it. It just turned out it wasn't legal, but that's neither here nor there. So
so
the
then we had,
original,
then it was changed. Our purpose was changed, and that's the way it's written now, which is, and I can bring all this with me to meeting with you, and so you can see everything that was done in the past, and what we're supposed to be doing now, and what we might want to do in the future is, well, we might want to do something like eliminate the age for getting this, instead of having it be just for seniors. Could be for anyone who has the income low enough to be qualified. So that's one thing we could think about, whether we want to do that or not.
question I have is we are the creatures of the select board. And should we ask them if they what they want us
Yes.
to do? I mean, I feel a little funny. We're operating here in a vacuum,
Yes,
kind of ignoring the group that in fact created us.
yes.
It might be nice to also have some ideas about what we might do. And it's, would you
So
like us
that's
to do
kind of
this?
what, I guess, Matt, I don't know if you want to chip in, but real quick, what I was thinking of is, I think a lot of these things, yeah, you could say like common sense, like you say property taxes, right? The impact of property taxes versus other taxes and how that, snowballs into causing other things. But like, I personally, like, I don't know the actual like data that behind that. If you were to ask me, hey, are taxes equitable across Concord? I'm like, I have no idea. Probably not, just based on the America's tax system, but like I can't prove that to you at all. And so I'm wondering, would it make sense before we go to select board or before we like determine what solution we want to do, actually figuring out what are the questions that people would ask, and then working with the tax assessors, like just getting updated. I know you all did all of this research way back when, but getting updated information on that, and putting together something that says, hey, here's our current state, here's where we want to go, here's what we think we should do to get there.
Can I just say
Yeah.
something from the sort of select board perspective, again, speaking for myself, but that it seems right now that, as you bring this latest warrant article to town meeting, and at this point do feel like, okay, this will provide kind of a permanent approach to at least this, this option. The options ahead for the committee itself are one of two things, I think. One is to say, hey, we're done. That we looked at the other things and they all are, almost insurmountable. We're just a little committee here. We tried. And we, by the way, did accomplish some things, and we've got this program that works, at least for some folks in Concord. And the other approach is to come in and say, hey, we passed this milestone, we've got this piece in place in the, for the longer term, but it's a modest thing. We do have still this fundamental problem of equity in Concord, and we have some ideas, and here's how we would like to pursue it. However, we're going to need new members. Basically, it's maybe not a restart, but it is certainly a new generation of the committee. So I just think that you all need to, and maybe you could come in with it as a question, but I think it'd be better if you came in with as a proposal, and that we could have I could certainly ask Terry to schedule it up as, a future discussion point. Yeah, I think it would probably take about, 15 minutes if it was correctly framed, 15, 20 minutes of our meeting. So anyway, that's my perspective, having listened in on a few of these meetings now.
Mhm.
I think you're right. I'm sorry.
I think that's very helpful. I think it's exactly the way we should go.
It might be worthwhile for me to dig up the original presentation, which I think I made when we started out, and I think I presented data from the census. Now we've got new census data showing that something like 10% of the households in Concord had incomes of less than $25,000 a year. And this is so staggering. Nobody had that idea. Now, I don't know if that's still true. And then the question was, of the households with low income, how old were the people in those houses? And it turned out that those people tended to be old and female. Okay? And then my presentation sort of said, how do we keep these people in town? And I think I brought up an example of somebody down Monument Street. I may even have invented a theoretical person and said, wait a minute, this is not, I'm not telling you about any particular person. I'm just telling you what I got from the assessor's office, and say, and how do we keep these people in town? And then I think I tugged on the heartstrings and said, where will the kids go on Halloween? That wonderful lady down the way who was always there for us, and so forth, because, how do we preserve neighborhoods? And I think that was a very real part of what we started out with. Now we wound up with something much less, but, we've only been at this for 15 years or something. And compared to the history of the Commonwealth, that's just a click on the edge. So, and the other part of the presentation, I think, said, which is a fact, that there are several states, Nancy will remember exactly how many, who have local option, local income taxes. And, where people could, in fact, decide whether members of a community could decide whether they wanted to take money from the state or whether they wanted to tax themselves and keep the money in their community. So, presented it was not a new idea. And then what happened was that it just came to grief on the interpretation of the constitutional provision that said that only the general court could do that. And at that time, our representative in the great general court would not approach the T word in any way, shape, or form. Okay, that was just considered so poisonous, and so we just backed off. We had to back off, and then we had the Sudbury. Sudbury had already passed something, and we just copied it. Said, well, what we want is what Sudbury's got. But we started to be ambitious, and I've got, I had an inch-thick stack of stuff printouts of all the states that had local option income taxes, and and the data from the census was really very striking, very striking. Because
But what Ryan, I grant all that, and that I can get very emotional about that. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think Matt's suggestion is a good one, that we need to go to the select board with a very simple kind of question, and that is, this is what we have accomplished. There is work to be done, and here are some directions we might go. We need, in order to do that, we need new members, we need da. Is that something that the board wants to support or not? I mean, I think that's, we've got to crystallize it rather than go ahead and make the whole presentation all over again.
I think I'm
Go ahead,
wondering, Ryan, the information that you had before from the census and the tax assessor office, is, I guess, how did you go about getting that information?
Well, the census, it's already public document. So
But, okay, I might grab coffee with you and ask you how to do this research, because I'm interested in, like, right, if someone asked us, hey, is tax fair in Concord or across the people who live in Concord? If there's a way to briefly answer, like, what the breakdown of, like, percentage of income that people pay in taxes.
see this
That'd be a
runs.
cool answer.
Yeah, well, Prana, this your point is acute, and it's very important, and it runs right smack into people. For example, a fair income tax for lots of people is one which applies to other people. Okay.
Equitable, I'll say.
Well, equitable means not me. Okay, because I'm more equit than anybody else. So, and you really have to figure out, can you appeal to people on this idea of what is fair? And what we were trying to deal with, a fair deal, is to tax people more who have more to give, at least theoretically more to give. And that's not a universal opinion, because we did have the lady when we made one of our first presentations, who you've heard the story before, but I'll tell it again. The lady in $1,200 shoes said, my wife, meow, meow. But anyway, she stood up and said, it took me a long time to get to Concord, and I didn't come here to live with plumbers, teachers, electricians, and mechanics. You can find that in the article in the Concord Journal of the time, okay? And that was very interesting, because, and there was no support for us in Carlisle. I think at the time, the richest community in town, so in the state. So, this is, are we bleeding heart liberals or whatever the heck? I sort of said, however rich you are, maybe you really want to have some place that your kids can go for Halloween, because you got to do that, and try to evoke the small town component. We're not, I mean, holy cow, what's going on down our street and so forth with respect to the little houses gone and the McMansions go back in. So we're maybe standing in the tide shouting, go back, go back. Enough said.
One other argument that I recall being raised, and I'm trying to remember whether this is at town meeting when this came up. I think it was. Some real estate agents stood up and said, well, if you do this, then the people who buy the very expensive houses in town also have very, very large incomes, and they're actually going to be ending up paying more tax. They're not going to want to live here anymore.
I remember this. There was there's some sort of a notion that if you did anything to tax rich people more, then the rich people wouldn't come here. Now there were certain people who thought, hey, that's a good idea. I'm not really worried about that one too much. It was, and I remember, Jay, you had a wonderful phrase, because we added up somebody, and it turned out that, if your house was valued at a very high number, then you'd pay more, you'd have more benefit from the tax or the bill. And then, so if you had a little house and a very high income, then you wouldn't be affected. You'd come out ahead. If you had a big house and low income, you were penalized. So So Jay had come up with a phrase. We gotta push the chime on his computer there. Anyway, there you are, Jay. Remember, you came up with a phrase that some of these millionaires were sort of insufficiently housed, or something like that. Because they should have had bigger houses so as to get and pay more. All right, enough said. Again, you know, for any of us on this committee can tell you stories of the discussions and things that went forward. It was really interesting, you know, but a fair tax is the one that applies to everybody but me. You know, that's.
Well, I mean, I think it would certainly be interesting to see, just back to the more concrete, the statistics, you know, if we were to say remove the age restriction, what's the potential effect of that?
Yeah.
You know, how many people might fall into like now?
I think that's kind of what my curiosity is like, what does that breakdown at the moment look like across Concord? And is there kind of the stark, surprising information, right, that you had found initially? Like, how is that data? Like, what's the surprising information? Like, who are the folks? Like, I don't know any of that. So
Now, well, see, I can't shut up here.
sorry.
If at any time here, but for example, we have, as Denny McIntyre made a wonderful presentation some time ago and been already mentioned. If you go from the taxation system that applied in the 1600s, where your ability to be taxed, or the ability to pay depended on how big your farm was. You see, and that was, so everything came from property tax, and that's a useful measure if that's the only measure you got, but it limits you in a very severe way. So and I think the brochure that Nancy has and showed you, you ought to take a look at that. I might be able to discover some original files that underwrote that, but there was actually a committee that studied taxes in Massachusetts. There's a big quote from them in the front of that brochure, and it says that doing, you know, basing all the tax on property is in fact regressive in an important way. If you go to New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional in New Hampshire to base it all on property, because then the poor people got bad education. I'm talking about, you know, funds for education. So poor people got less, and the New Hampshire Supreme Court said, can't do that. And I think that's arguable. So it's a lot of background, and there's a bunch of states who do it, and the reason that they do it is all the reasons that we thought were important for our community. And when will this place be entirely a place for the folks in $1,200 shoes? She also said she wanted to be in a community, I think, which had lawyers, bankers, and doctors. That was where she wanted. You could look it up in the paper. Anyway, frankly, I'd love to have a mechanic next door, and next to that, the plumber. I need these folks, and the teacher, and the fireman or woman, you know. So that's how we have as a community, as opposed to a hotel, and an expensive one. All right, David, you should really mute my microphone.
Bring the meeting forward. Yeah. So so I think actually we have just covered 5, 6, and 7. I wanted to mention about Jay Kaufman. So I actually did contact him, and this week was inconvenient because he's on travel to family. He's in either California or Hawaii today. I didn't say which day. And he begged off on account of the time difference, because I think right now it's like 5 a.m. in California and 2 a.m. in Hawaii. Well, 6 a.m. and when we started, it was 5 a.m. and 2 a.m. Anyway, he said anytime after March 9th would work for him.
Okay,
So I think that would probably be our next meeting, either a month from today or even, well, I guess we could do it a month from today, or we could do it 3 weeks from today.
David, I keep jumping in here, but would it be appropriate to have Matt see if there's some meeting of select boards, members of select boards, that where they get together and talk about what's interesting to their communities, and see if the issue of local income tax has, you know, any interest in any other, or is brought up to any other towns and communities as you know, come to their select boards. Yeah, I don't, you know, where do we ask the question?
Well, the Mass Municipal Association, I think. Yeah.
Mm.
If I'm understanding, Ring, what you're asking for is you're saying, hey, are there other towns that are working on this right now, and where are they at? Is that, yeah. So there are forums in the through, I believe, the Mass Municipal Association where you could ask an open-ended question like that and see if there's anybody out there. Yeah. I mean, it's too bad they had to cancel this year's convention, but you know, that's where you usually would go hobnob with your fellow select board members from all over the state and figure out what's on people's minds. Now, of course, if I didn't have this in mind, I might not have ever asked the question, but as it was, we didn't have such a meeting. So
Is this something that a member of the
well, I
committee
can maybe I can ask the question. So I'm not our representative, but I'll ask Terry and see, you know, and I put a little bit of background around this, that you all are, you know, trying to see, okay, you're doing the steps I think you'd need to get in front of the select board and have us, you know, evaluate what makes sense going forward. One is you're talking to Jay, so he'll give you some perspective. If we can get some input from other towns, that would be great. And then, you know, you're looking at census data and just seeing, okay, are things getting better or worse? You know, and with those kinds of inputs, I think you'll be in a better position to say, yep, there's, you know, still a pony here, as we say, and you know, we can take off with it, or well, no, it's, you know, we maybe should focus on other things where we have a better chance of success, near-term success. So those are and you could get in front of the select board maybe, you know, sometime in April before town meeting. Just so that, you know, okay, at town meeting, you either kind of know that this is finish line, or that you're laying out a new stretch of track ahead of you. So
Good.
Okay. Well, I think that's, I guess, other than the fact that we should probably, yeah, we should, as I was going to say, we should probably think about questions that we would ask Jay. And it occurred to me, I'm wondering if it would be useful to get him a copy of that brochure somehow to show our more
I'll look
ambitious.
into that. We could, Nancy, you may have the only existing copy.
I may, yes.
Yeah. Jay Keyes has probably got one. I don't know. Walter, maybe you've been with us long enough. I should have it, but I think it made a case, and let's try and find it and share that.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you can't find an original electronic copy, maybe you can scan Nancy's copy.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't scan and print, but somebody else could.
No, you don't need to print. I would say just scan it, and then.
Well, yes, I can't
It's
scan.
a PDF.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think that's actually an ideal medium for transmission among us. Because you can, I mean, you can just email it to somebody and they'll have it.
Mhm.
Well, I hired somebody to lay it out and make it. So I'm not sure I ever got other than printed copies, but we could take Nancy's copy down to Alpha Graphics and say, make us a dozen of these. It's somewhat dated, but it still gives an idea what it might look like. Because quite clearly, if you want to do this thing, make it actually happen as a local option, local income tax, it's a statewide thing. And if you want to get that little change in the state constitution that makes it okay, then again, you got to have a statewide push behind it. And that requires, I'm afraid I have to say, that requires a committee composed of younger people, because if you ask me to look out the next 10 years, which is be required to get it, I'm going to have extra wheels on my walker. So,
Which you don't have yet.
And it's going to end up being a little bit more complicated. The more I have thought about it over the years, because it isn't just a matter of what we wanted to do, but the great and general court, one of the arguments against it is that it benefits Concord, but it doesn't benefit Lowell.
oh, but that, yeah,
No, let me just finish. The answer to that is that there need to be restrictions on how those taxes can be used. And we were very precise about how that tax revenue would be used. It wouldn't be to build a new school or to do things. It wouldn't be for great capital expenses. So we'd have to be very careful as we brought forth this proposal to have an answer to it benefits the rich communities, but doesn't benefit the less well-off communities.
In direct response to that, the prototypes that we have from other states provide, for example, they may provide that it's entirely used for educational purposes, okay, which is half what the local taxes are. And the other provisions that are provided is a community has the option of taxing itself or using a share from the state tax from the common pool, so that the degree to which a community opts out of taking any assistance from the state, that increases the size of the pool available to what I'm going to say Fall River was always my example, but it may not be a good one. So good thinking people have put in place in other states ways of doing this, which in fact don't look like they just benefit the rich folks. And if the rich folks want to spend the money, they can do that. But that's okay. That's what taxation with representation means, I guess.
I have to go, gang. I'm leaving a different meeting, but I'll talk to y'all next time I have my action items. Thank you.
May I have your phone number?
I'll send you an email, Nancy.
Okay, thank you.
Are March 11th and 18th both okay?
Yeah.
What is
okay.
that?
So we'll
I'm
pick
sorry,
one of those.
I didn't hear the date.
Yeah.
What did you say, David?
Oh, I'm just talking to Farana just to make sure that she was okay for
Okay, all
either
right.
the 2 dates that I was suggesting for the next meeting. Well, then we can. We've actually I think reached the end of the agenda.
You want to do the 13th or the 11th or the 18th?
The 18th is a month. I'm happy with either date though.
It's a
Yeah.
full moon, so it'd be good creation.
So March 18th?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
All right,
All
folks, I could go too.
Yes, me too. I'm about to turn into a pumpkin, so. I will,
All right. Goodbye.
So
And
meeting's
enjoy
adjourned.
being a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Bye.
Let's say I have a motion to adjourn. Got a
So move.
okay, and
All those in favor?
second.
Hey,
Okay,
seconded,
all in
yep.
favor. Okay.
All in favor, push your leave button.
Bye.
We're
All
adjourned.
right.
I saw a bunch of hands. Bye.